what's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here with your August, 3rd Aew Dynamite review. And I don't want to, there's no fun name for this Dynamite. It's not Fighter Fest, it's not Fight for the Fallen, it's not Fight for the anything, and Quake by the Lake isn't until next week, which really sets the table for this week. This week is it's a really weird week because they're coming off of, you know, Fighter Fest, they're coming off of Fight for the Fallen, they're coming off of the ROH pay-per-view still, and they're building towards a live Rampage this Friday. Battle of the Belts 3, which I didn't even know was a thing because I didn't watch Rampage last week, not gonna lie, and they're building towards Quake by the Lake next week, which is a really lame, it's a really lame name for a show, not gonna lie, but it does look like it's going to be a really good show. We will get to it when we get to it. Now, get to the obvious first. Didn't get around to previewing Ric Flair's last match, watched the show, I mean the actual titular Ric Flair's last match was what it was. All I'm going to say about it, and was it awkward? Yes. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. Do you worry about the guy's well-being the whole time throughout the whole match? Yes, but I'm going to lean on the other side of the coin where it's like, if I'm 73 and I can even attempt to do what Ric Flair did on Sunday, coming off of the back of Saturday and SummerSlam and all that fun stuff, I'll consider myself pretty lucky. I mean, all the health stuff seems to be that he's okay and whatever, and I mean, he got to tag team with his son-in-law, so that in and of itself is a cool thing. It gave a platform to Andrade and Jay Lethal, and we saw Jeff Jarrett on back-to-back nights, once as a referee and once as a proper heel. Now, what I love about the Jeff Jarrett thing, not that this is apropos to anything, Jeff Jarrett coming out at SummerSlam to his old country WWE theme, and then coming out to his TNA theme at the Ric Flair show was, I don't know, it just made me laugh. It just made me, like, later on in this show, we're going to talk about Matt Hardy, who's coming out to his WWE music, and Christian Cage, who's coming out to his Impact music. So, music is a thing. It's like ring gear. It's you don't notice it until you notice it, and I thought that was a pretty funny thing. Now, you saw I sort of glazed over SummerSlam there. We are, for whatever reason, and this is where I'm reaching out to you guys, I mean, it's only going to be a day or two, but once we get SmackDown out of the way this week, I am going to try and put my thoughts together on, you know, the Triple H era. I know that's a cliche thing that everybody's jumping on board with. I've got some thoughts. I'm going to let SummerSlam, one Raw, and one SmackDown get out of the way and let you guys know what I think about that then. But, let's just say Io Sky and Dakota Kai and Bayley coming back as a faction is awesome, and Brock Lesnar lifting the ring with a tractor is awesome because it just is. So what I'm going to ask you guys, coming off of one, I mean, it was mostly written by Vince, so it's sort of a half Triple H show. But coming off of SummerSlam, Raw, and whatever happens this Friday on SmackDown, what are your very, very, very initial thoughts of the Triple H era of WWE? I mean, I guess you could say Triple H and Stephanie. But what are your very initial thoughts? Not, what do you think is going to happen 6 months from now, a year from now, what's going to happen next WrestleMania? I'm saying 1 week in, what are your guys' thoughts? Put it down in the box below if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble. Anywhere else, put it on Twitter. Find a weird hashtag to use, like Triple H era or something like that. Because I'm going to give my thoughts, but if you guys want to throw your 2 cents in before I get that done, I think that'd be really cool. It'd be a really cool thing to talk about, and it really, there's a shift. There's a shift happening. I haven't watched any Impact in like 4 weeks. So, in the realm of me not promising too much, I don't know whether I'm going to get a preview out for Emergence, because realistically speaking, I don't really know what's going on heading into Emergence. I think Chris Sabin is getting a world title shot against Josh Alexander versus Jacob Fatu on Sunday. I've never seen Jacob Fatu before, and in one match, they've convinced me that I need to watch a lot more Jacob Fatu, so that might convince me to watch a little bit of MLW. I've never watched a scrap of MLW, so there you go. It is what it is. Oh, also, Motor City Machine Guns versus the Wolves was awesome, even though in an Impact context, it doesn't make any sense currently at all right now, does it? Opening up the show tonight, I will say, when they did the pan shot of the crowd, there are so many signs in this crowd with some variation of, let's fucking go! And that made me smile because I'm an immature child. Orange Cassidy and Jay Lethal to start off the night, and I was thinking, why? Because again, I didn't watch Rampage. Rampage did have Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh taking on the Best Friends, and apparently there was a save made by Wardlow, because Wardlow needs friends, why not go for the Best Friends? Yeah, I made that pun a couple of weeks ago, and now everybody's making it, because fuck me, right? Always cool to see the little kids in the front row or near the rampway, dressed up like Orange Cassidy, getting the fist bump and having the time of their lives. It's all good. October. I'm saying it right now, October. Those cowards in AEW are finally coming across the border. They're coming to Toronto. They're coming to the, I'm not going to call it the Coca-Cola Coliseum. It's the fucking Rico. But they're coming to the Rico for 2 nights, and I am going. So 2 months from now, ya boy is going to see some live AEW. Now Impact needs to follow suit, and we will be fine. Orange Cassidy out-wrestles Jay Lethal in the early going, and then he does pocket stuff. I like this better. I really do. Well, you guys know, when I first started watching Orange Cassidy, and I didn't really get the gimmick, and oh, he's the guy that doesn't care, and he puts his hands in his pockets, and he does cool stuff. I like it better that he just, like, starts a match, has a match, knows that he's so ahead in the match that he can then pull out the cocky pocket stuff. I think that works. That's a better way to work around it, ring psychology-wise. Maybe I'm crazy. Tell me down in the box below if you think I'm crazy. He lazy kicks him up the ramp, and then he comes face-to-face with Satnam Singh, which is always a good thing. Satnam Singh standing on the ramp, and then he gets confronted by the Best Friends, who are on each other's shoulders in a tall trench coat. I laughed. It's lame as shit, but I laughed. Dragon Screw by Lethal, who works on the leg and takes him out to the outside, works his leg against the ring steps, and then drop kicks the ring steps into his leg. So, spoiler alert, the story of the match for the rest of the match is Orange Cassidy's leg. He hits him with another dragon screw. I went to say drag screw. What the fuck is a drag screw? No inappropriate comments in the comment section down below. But a dragon screw off the top and a figure 4 by Lethal. Stun Dog Millionaire, Lethal combination, top rope DDT, moves, back and forth. Tornado DDT by Cassidy, which commentary sells great because he basically does it on one leg. Beach break, but he fucks himself up, eats the lethal injection from Jay Lethal, and Jay Lethal gets the win. Lethal then turns his attention to Wardlow and says he's going to put Orange Cassidy back in the figure 4 until Wardlow comes out and gives him a title shot. Wardlow comes out. He bails. They make a correction. He's like, oh, well, you're not going to have it right now. Sanjay Dutt says, oh, you want to fight my guy right now after he's just had a match? Dutt specifies that match is going to take place at Battle of the Belts 3. So Jay Lethal's going to die, and we're probably going to get some really awkward big guy stuff between Wardlow and Satnam Singh. But the match itself, before we got into the ridiculousness, they were selling a pretty good story. Orange Cassidy, who, let me put this out there as it is right now. Orange Cassidy's a fantastic wrestler, but he's also a meme. And I say the similar things about Hook, and I like Hook as well. To break out of the sort of like the meme character and actually watch him not only do some proper wrestling with less pocket stuff, but also do a lot of selling where he's like concerned for most of the match. They even made a point in saying on commentary that he was speaking to the referee, and if for Orange Cassidy, if he's doing that, then you know he's in trouble, which was a really nice touch, because wrestlers always argue with the referee. We're going to talk about that in the main event because I have something to say about that. But for them to say, yeah, he wouldn't normally do that. Like, if he's talking to somebody, because he's the guy that doesn't give a shit, etc., if he's talking to the referee, he must be in trouble. I thought that was a really cool touch. This was a surprisingly good match. Ridiculousness outside with Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh, but they used Orange Cassidy to build a Jay Lethal versus Wardlow match. And if Wardlow comes out to Battle of the Belts with the Best Friends, with a Best Friends tie-dye shirt on, I'm going to laugh just a little bit. We recap Hook winning the FTW title. We didn't talk about what happened after he won the title, but we did recap Hook winning the FTW title, and Taz got a second to say how proud he is of his boy to carry that title. Rah. The Undisputed Elite come out. All 6 of them. Adam Cole, Bay, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Matt and Nick Jackson, and what's his face with the camera? Brandon Cutler? Does that guy ever wrestle? I don't watch Dark. I don't watch Dark Elevation. A wrestling company shouldn't give you homework. You guys know this about me by now. But does that guy actually wrestle? Because I know he was coming out doing the Dungeons and Dragons weird shit in like the early days of AEW. But does he wrestle at all? Or is he just the guy that gets told off by the Bucks? And that's his lot in life now. In the crowd. And yes, I don't watch NXT anymore. I do hope that it gets back on track with Triple H in charge now, but I still haven't watched a lick of NXT. I know they have a show coming up soon called Summer Heat, which is ironic because Destiny, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, also has a show coming up called Summer Heat. I'm just going to leave that alone for a second because I know Braun Breaker is defending his title. I don't know anything else that's going on about that. But I do know that the main event at Destiny's Summer Heat is going to be Josh Alexander defending against Dexter Lumis and Karrion Kross. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But old like NXT when it was good lore will still pop me. There's a guy in the crowd with a sign that says Kyle still fears Von Wagner. I laughed a lot. More than I should as a person sitting by myself in front of the TV watching wrestling and taking notes to talk to you folks here. Adam Cole talks about how it's good to be back in the ring with his friends, but he's still not cleared to wrestle. He is here to say... he is here to be I can speak, I swear, it's tired in here. It's great to be back. He's still not cleared to wrestle, but he wants to come out and talk about the Undisputed Elite and how a leader should act and how a group should have chemistry and a group should have talent and a group should have loyalty. I've been all over the world with Fish and O'Reilly because of loyalty. I came to AEW because of the Bucks, and that's loyalty. Loyalty is power. Loyalty is everything. And he turns his attention to the Bucks and the Trios tournament. And he says, well, I'm not cleared. And Kyle O'Reilly's not cleared. And if you guys aren't going to tag team up with Bobby Fish, then you won't be able to enter the tournament at all. And he says, let me be clear. He says, you won't be able to enter the tournament at all because you won't be physically able to. And there's a 3-on-2 beatdown as they turn on the Bucks. And I laugh a whole lot because it's the Undisputed Era taking on the Bucks. It's the Wednesday Night Wars revisited. And it's all very, very good. They're about to Pillmanize one of their necks. No, I don't tell the Bucks apart because it doesn't matter. Hangman makes the obvious save. Hangman comes out with butterflies all over his jeans for reasons. And somebody on commentary, I don't even know who it was, please, for those of you that know the Elite lore and the Bullet Club lore and the ROH history of these guys and the New Japan history of these guys, please tell me that this is not a real thing. As Hangman Page stands there with the Bucks and somebody on commentary says, is this the return of the Hung Bucks? Please tell me that's not a thing. I love this. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. Because, I'm sorry, Hangman Page and the Bucks are all elite. The Undisputed Era is one of the last remnants of good NXT. In this feud alone, leave me alone, leave me to my little wrestling selfish bubble for a second. This is the Wednesday Night Wars revisited, and I bet the Undisputed Era win. Oh yes. And in a ring that now has 7 people in it, including Brandon Cutler, how is Hangman Page the most boring guy in the ring? With his butterfly pants. Fuck off. Mox is in the back putting over tonight's main event. Tonight's main event is Chris Jericho, who I thought was facing him next week for the interim title at Quake by the Lake, but apparently he was baited into putting that title shot on the line against Wheeler Yuta later tonight. What I love, for people that don't watch Rampage, because Rampage is kind of a disposable show these days, they never mention, at the time, whether or not Yuta's Pure Championship is on the line. I mean, you figure it out eventually, because they just never mention it at all, but they don't specify that it's a non-title #1 contenders match. That's weird. In the back, we see Tony Schiavone trying to interview Christian Cage, and Jungle Boy tries to run him over with a car, which is nice. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Thunderstorm, which is the match that they've been teasing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, which is fine. And I want to throw something out there to the What Cultures of the world, to the other podcasters of the world, to the general Twitter of the world. And I'm somebody who used to shit on AEW a lot. I'm somebody who used to say, what the fuck are you doing with your women's division? But these people out there that hang their hat on weird numbers, and I'm not talking about ratings. Well, why do you always stick the women's match in the 7th, 8th of the show? They were in the second quarter. That's all I got. That's all I got. Storm and Hayter's gear looks awesome because they're coordinated, which they aren't always. Interesting to see who the crowd focused on this one, because it wasn't on Toni Storm and it wasn't on Jamie Hayter. It was just battling Thunder Rosa DMD chants, which is fine. I really do want to see another go around with just Britt Baker and Toni Storm, but that's just me. Rosa and Storm work great as a team, even though Baker and Hayter are the ones that have matching gear. There's a wicked dropkick to the back by Rosa at one point, which is nice. Toni Storm, oh, this is fucking beautiful. She was grappling with Hayter, like from the ring to Hayter out on the apron. Through the ropes, she manages to cradle her into a tornado DDT through the ropes off the apron to the floor. And it was messy. I think it was intentionally messy, but it was also really gorgeous and really painful looking. Second rope air raid crash by Baker, another tornado DDT by Storm. Stereo German suplexes by Thunderstorm looked great. Storm misses and hits Thunder Rosa by mistake after several hip attacks to both of their opponents, and a quick lariat by Hayter gets the win. Now, what I love about this is both teams went back to their to their neutral corners, and everybody. Baker and Hayter won, but both teams, also live to fight another day, because everybody was like, well, tonight it's definitely going to happen. Tonight, Toni Storm is definitely going to turn heel on Thunder Rosa, or Jamie Hayter's finally going to get sick of Britt Baker and break away from that faction, and neither one of those things really happened. Now, you've set a seed for Storm and Rosa potentially being petty with each other and blaming each other for the loss and whatever, but none of it actually happened. So please don't try to write the whole story while we're only on the 5th or 6th page. That would be nice. We get a video package of Sammy Guevara and Tay Conte, and we revisit them getting engaged in Paris, and then they say that they're not on Dynamite this week because they're getting married. And of course, because that's a happy thing, that's a thing you would want to celebrate. It gets interrupted by Eddie Kingston, because Eddie Kingston ruins everybody, and he talks some bullshit. And he wants to beat the shit out of Sammy Guevara at All Out. Because of course he does. Because he's a gangster. Because he's going to put a hit out on somebody and he's going to kill you. Except he's not. Because it's fucking wrestling. Move on. Now, we go back to last week. We go back to the fallout of Ricky Starks losing the FTW Championship and him getting turned on by Powerhouse Hobbs and attacked and beaten down and all that kind of thing. They turn to Team Taz. They turn to Taz on commentary, who says, I don't know what happened with Hobbs. I haven't talked to anybody. He says he hasn't even talked to Hook, which is his son, who he's done several video packages with since he won the title, so that's not exactly true. But he just, out of nowhere, just announces, no, we're not going to try and fix this. There's no more Team Taz. I'm like, okay. Alright, Ricky Starks is going to go off and be a babyface. Everybody already loves Hook, and Hook's got the FTW Championship, and Powerhouse Hobbs goes on to face Ron James, who they showed his record from Dark and Dark Elevation, but I don't care about Dark and Dark Elevation because, say it with me, say it loud, say it proud, a wrestling company shouldn't give you homework. Oh yes, and it's a squash match, and Ricky Starks tries to run in and attack him after the match and gets planted with a spinebuster, and that made me sad. Moving on, we get several segments here. Miro talks some weird Miro stuff about Aleister Black. Darby talks some weird stuff about Brody King. These two were back-to-back, so it's just, okay, here's everything that's going on with the House of Black all at once. And then they confirm that next week, Quake at the Lake, it is going to be Darby Allin versus Brody King at Quake by the Lake in a coffin match. Don't call it a casket match, because then they'll know we're copying WWE. Okay, I do look forward to the match. Don't get me wrong. I like Brody King. Brody King's a fucking wrecking ball, and Darby Allin is one of the best things they've got on this roster. It is true. I'm not saying put the title on him next week, but he is one of the best things on the AEW roster as far as entertainment value and as far as really not giving a shit what happens to himself for our entertainment. What's the opposite of entertainment? And this breaks my heart. Here's the thing. here's the thing, and here's the thing. We have a cool story going on right now with Christian Cage and Jungle Boy. We had the attempt to run him over earlier on in the night, and he's not supposed to be there. He's been barred from the arena, etc., etc., etc. Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy. Now, here's the thing. I like the Hardys. I like Christian Cage. I liked Christian Cage when he branched off from WWE and went to TNA when TNA was still TNA. I like the Broken Matt stuff. I hope Jeff Hardy comes back soon when he's ready, when his personal issues have been sorted and whatnot. For God's sake, I didn't give a shit about this match. I fast-forwarded some of this match, I'm not going to lie, because I was watching late. I don't care. I really, really don't care. On commentary, they were trying to big it up as like, this is the renewal of a decades-long rivalry. No, it's not. This is not the rivalry. The rivalry was one guy that you don't have on your roster, and Christian, versus the Hardy Boys. The rivalry, if you want to take it this way, was Edge and Jeff Hardy. The rivalry, if you want to take it this way, was Edge and Matt Hardy. Unless you want to count WWE's version of ECW, there's no direct one-on-one feud between Christian Cage and Matt Hardy that's worth talking about. But because they're trying to scrape the barrel of nostalgia, they did table stuff, and I didn't care. I should, but I don't. I just don't. The best thing about this entire segment was a guy in the crowd, and every time that they went to the hard camera, he waved this sign big in the... I was big into signs tonight, if you can't tell. But during the Matt Hardy versus Christian Cage match, he holds up a sign that says, "I played this match on No Mercy." And Jesus Christ, that got me right in the soul. That made me feel very old, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I did play that match on No Mercy. Christian Cage gets the win. He goes to, take out Matt Hardy some more. He's going to give him the one-man concerto, but he's interrupted by Luchasaurus, except he's not really interrupted by Luchasaurus, because Luchasaurus is a distraction for Jungle Boy, who was never really kicked out of the arena, and it's fine. Luchasaurus is back to being a good guy, still has his bad guy entrance, which is kind of weird, and then we pan to another sign in the crowd that says TVPG isn't actually that bad. So, I can't pretend to care about this. I will care when we get Christian Cage and Jungle Boy, when it's finally announced for All Out and that match gets all set and done, and we find hopefully something else for Luchasaurus to do, because I want that match to just be a one-on-one match. But when they announce that match, when we know we're getting it at All Out, I'll be excited for that match, because that'll be good. Christian Cage will bust his balls doing everything he can to make Jungle Boy look great, and we know that that's on the horizon. That does not make me care about Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy in the year of our Bundy 2022. I do not care about Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy. I really don't. It breaks my heart. You guys know I'm one of the biggest Hardy marks there is, but it ain't for this Hardy. So, moving on. Moving up, moving on, moving over. Garcia in the back bragging about beating Daniel Bryan, renames himself the Dragon Slayer, and says he wants a rematch as soon as Bryan comes back. But when he called himself a Dragon Slayer, this is only going to work for those of you who know who Jim Jeffries is. But as soon as he said, "I'm the Dragon Slayer," I thought of Jim Jeffries' bit in, I think it's his last comedy routine, and it's one of the last jokes of the whole show, where he just turns to his wife and says, "I'm a giant, Kate!" That's Garcia calling himself a Dragon Slayer. If they have another match, it'll be fantastic. I will get excited about the match. Him giving himself a nickname is whatever. We see video highlights of Pac defending the All-Atlantic Championship in Rev Pro against Connor Mills. Who the fuck is Connor Mills? I don't know. Wrestling companies shouldn't give you homework. Moving on. Ethan Page comes out, and after the video package about Pac, it goes right to Ethan Page in the ring. He literally looks into the camera and says, "Am I on? Am I talking to everybody now? Good." And then he goes into a big rant about how he's not on the TV, he's not on the action figures, he's not on the bus, he deserves better. And when the crowd starts to cheer, he calls them out on it, which is kind of cool. When a heel that's being underutilized gets cheered by the crowd, and then they turn around and say, "Why are you cheering for me now?" When the t-shirts come out, you all line up for CM Punk and Eddie Kingston and this, that, and the next, this, that, and the next. How dare you cheer me now and try to hop on my bandwagon while I'm trying to make something happen for myself? and basically calls him disingenuous. Makes me think of the WWE, the Daniel Bryan Fickle promos. And it's really good, and it always works because there's always a little tinge of truth in it. The whole time he's making this rant, he doesn't realize that Stokely Hathaway is standing behind him. Stokely Hathaway grabs the microphone from him, asks him what he's doing, hands him his business card, and walks away. So, let me put it in the nicest way I possibly can. Stokely Hathaway's obviously building himself a little faction. Without saying something too problematic, I wouldn't have pictured Ethan Page being somebody in that faction. Gee, I wonder why. But we'll see where that goes. I wonder if that means that they're breaking up the men of the year, or if Scorpio Sky's going off on his own or whatever. Tag team dumpster match, the Acclaimed versus the Guns. And I'm sorry, I like some of the stuff that AEW does that is sort of WWE-like. I'm not going to say that they're ripping off War Games when they do Blood and Guts. I'm not going to say that they're ripping off the Royal Rumble, even though they called one of them the Royal Rampage, and they do the Casino Battle Royals that I really like. But this was a dumpster match with Billy Gunn in it, where people got tossed in a bin and chucked off the edge of the stage at the end of the segment. This was New Age Outlaws stuff. And I'm kind of thinking, now that I just think of it, is this a dig at the Road Dogg for demanding a job from AEW? If you're not following that story, follow that story. It's entertaining enough. The Acclaimed attack the Guns before they even get an entrance, so then they stop and then they do a rap, and obviously they grab the low-hanging fruit of Vince McMahon getting ousted out of his own company, and there's power bombs into the bin and there's tosses in the bin, and they do stage stuff, and the Acclaimed win because of course they do. And I mean, I say of course they do because they're the team that should win. They're the team that's popular. They're the team that's just newly babyface, and they're the team that are actually stars, not the team that comes out and says, "Hey, we're Billy's kids." So they zip tie them into the dumpster and they toss them off the stage, just like they did with Funk and Foley. I get it, because Billy Gunn's involved, and it is a nostalgia thing, and it is a tribute thing in a way. I can't help but think it's also kind of a dig at the Road Dogg. And I'm not even saying that that's a bad thing. If they want to take a swipe at the Road Dogg because Road Dogg took a swipe at them, cool, do it. I'm not even playing WWE gatekeeper at this point. But acknowledge that it's a possibility is all I'm going to say. And then we got the ridiculous rundown of everything we have to look forward to in the next couple of days. Out of nowhere, while they're running down the ship for Rampage, I don't know what else is happening on Rampage, somebody that won a battle royal at the Ric Flair thing that I didn't see gets a shot at Moxley that he's not going to win. Moving on. What else? They dropped in this in the middle of everything with no real preamble whatsoever that Madison Rayne is making her debut on Rampage on Friday. I'm like, alright, I'll check that out. I'm probably not going to watch the whole show, but be that as it may. Then Battle of the Belts, we've got I shouldn't say Cesaro. You got Claudio Castagnoli defending the ROH Championship against Konosuke Takeshita. I actually pronounced that correctly. Go me. Thunder Rosa's defending against Jamie Hayter, which is nice. Wardlow's defending against Lethal, which means Lethal's going to die and people are going to be upset. And then next week at Quake by the Lake, we've got Darby versus Brody in the coffin match. We've got the Lucha Brothers versus Andrade and Rush in a tornado tag. We've got a Jade Open challenge, which please God means even Statlander or Athena are going to take that belt off of her and put it on somebody that deserves it. Thank you. And we've got Moxley versus the winner of our main event tonight, Chris Jericho versus Wheeler Yuta, which is not for the pure title because it's not under pure rules. And let's go. Jericho brings out 2.0, so Yuta calls out Claudio to be in his corner. There's a slap by Jericho, and Yuta pokes Jericho in his injured nose that's been taped up since that really shitty match that he had with Eddie Kingston, aka any match that anybody has with Eddie Kingston. Yuta tosses Jericho around the outside of the ring area very quickly. 2.0 get themselves ejected, and Claudio just kind of fucks off. What's her name? Aubrey Edwards ejects 2.0. I know they're not 2.0 anymore, but fuck it, that's what I'm calling them. Claudio doesn't get ejected, but he just sort of follows them out, which is sort of one of those, like, I'm no longer needed here type things. There is a massive mid-air double cross-body spot where they both sort of collapse in the center of the ring. Suplex City by Wheeler Yuta, followed by the Walls of Jericho. I can speak, I swear. Butterfly Backbreaker by Jericho, followed by a Lion Salt that is blocked. Yuta jumps into a Code Breaker, which is always funny. Jericho goes for Floyd, which is an aptly named weapon, which is taken away by Aubrey Edwards, but the distraction allows Jericho to get in a low blow, but miss the Judas effect, but he goes, they counter a couple more times. There's a successful Lion Tamer, and Jericho gets the win. He keeps the Lion Tamer on just enough to piss off Jon Moxley, who tosses him away, grabs a microphone, and he goes through his Rolodex of different versions of himself. If you want the Lion Heart, you're gonna get the Lion Heart, and I'm gonna stretch the ever-loving shit out of you. And they keep dropping Stu Hart's name, which is kind of cool, but also kind of... I don't know. I don't know about that one, but we are going to get, as predicted, we are going to get Moxley versus Jericho next week at Quake by the Lake, because Moxley ain't losing on Rampage to somebody that doesn't work for AEW. Like, it's just not a thing. I don't know. Out of all the things I'm kind of looking forward to Madison Rayne being on Rampage. I might actually watch Rampage, so there's that. This was... How can I sum up this week's episode? Because it wasn't all perfect by any stretch of the imagination. The dumpster match was kind of there. The Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy match didn't need to happen. Basically, the Undisputed Elite explode, and then building blocks, because we have other shows coming up. That's not a bad thing. It just makes it a more functional show than a good show. I hope you guys understand what I mean by that. By no means saying that it's a bad show, but... I mean, last week's was pretty fucking good, and we've got some good stuff on the horizon. You never know. I might get our buddy back next week to talk about Quake on the Lake, but I shouldn't talk about that because I haven't even asked him yet. I'm done talking because I've tripped over my tongue enough tonight. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.